Fujimoto once again wows us with his ability to write characters in Chainsaw Man. This chapter truly was another feather on his cap, and trust me, that means there is a lot to break down in this chapter. So stick around because we're gonna go deep. Oh, we're gonna go Sigmund Freud deep into this chapter. So let's begin. If you haven't, consider subscribing as we're exactly 40 subs from 3K. With your subscription, you can help this channel find a home. Please subscribe and drop a like on the video. So the chapter starts off with a big celebration. We see a sign attached to a balloon in a building that reads clothing and food, busy people in a theme park. This is notable mostly just because of the detail on display. I love the elephant-themed ride, the panda-themed photo exhibit, and the sign that reads, "You must be this tall to ride," which is set to 110 centimeters. This all but confirms that Levi will never be able to ride. We then see Nayata enjoying a ride while Denji sits absent-mindedly on a bench watching her. To this day, it's still really strange seeing Nayata be innocent when she was anything but not too long before this. We then see... Wait, who is this again? Hold on. Oh, my phone just died. It's Fumiko. The name's it's Fumiko the groomer. So, though this dialogue gets revealed to Fumiko that Denji didn't end up joining the Chainsaw Man church, and that as well, he's never turning into Chainsaw Man again, which Fumiko sees as a shame, though what she says is really interesting. Fumiko tries to relate to Denji for a moment and says that it must feel good turning into Chainsaw Man because, after all, he gets fame, recognition, and respect from others. However, what she says next is really a great piece of writing. She says that she imagines that Denji gets to experience a lot of thrills ordinary people can never get a taste of, which Denji counters. His perspective is different because he says it's not all rainbows, and once again, the disparagement cannot be more obvious, I think, at least in my mind. Fumiko says, well, of course, but she'd rather die than getting watched in a bathroom like Chainsaw Man does, which is likely something that wasn't supposed to be revealed, as she then tells him to pretend he never heard about that, and we'll address the rest of this conversation in just a moment, but I'd just like to point out something. Fumiko points out something important here to me, and that is Denji is the one being watched, but Denji is not the one watching. To describe this with a less disgusting example, people have their whole worlds revolve around Denji, even when he's doing insignificant things like jerking off in a bathroom. Keep this in mind for later, I imagine this will be important. Continuing on, I thought this part was funny though. Denji is like, "Hey, that's vile, I jerk off in there." He even criticizes them as being some of the lowest of the low, which I think this is hilarious that this is where Denji draws the line. This also means Fumiko is going to get yelled at too, so because of that, she sure does feel low, but that begs the question, why wasn't she when she was watching Denji jerk off? Well, we do get an answer to that. Fumiko is like, who wouldn't want to touch his wiener? Which, by the way, the use of wiener in this manga is so weird, hilarious, and juvenile, but so strange that I don't know. It's so strange, I just can't help but laugh at it. But Fumiko tries to reassure Denji she's not a stalker, she's his fan. Because that's right, everyone. Totally just his fan. And for once, Denji takes note of this and is kind of onto her. He knows that at this point, all of the women who come onto him hate his guts, which is funny because even Fumiko is like, well, I do kind of hate you a teensy tiny bit, which is, oh my god, Fujimoto really got me here. So this leads into, in of itself, a great subversion by Fujimoto and leads into a backstory for Fumiko, which makes my prediction of Fumiko dying in a future chapter that more real. So she explains to Denji she hates Chainsaw Man somewhat because he didn't save her mother and father. So it turns out that before this, the town in which Denji fought the Gun Devil, her family lived there. They had just sat down for dinner when her house was destroyed, and she managed to crawl from the rubble as the only survivor. Before her eyes, she saw the two fighting, and so she shouted at Chainsaw Man to save her family, but her voice was drowned out by the sounds of Denji's chainsaws. However, a certain touch of maturity is implied with Fumiko, who states that Denji need not worry about their deaths. She doesn't want to see him as a superhero or god like the others. What she sees is the boy who reverted back into his human form, crying. It was here that she realized the truth. Denji was just a kid fighting something he didn't understand, and that's what she saw him as. This was such a great moment and piece of writing from Fumiko, as it balances out the wacky nature of her character with a biting sense of groundedness and practicality. Yeah, she's a weirdo. But she's still a person that saw something really traumatic and learned a valuable lesson that day, and still sees people in a very practical sense. She sees Denji not as Chainsaw Man, but as Denji, literally. Because of that, I think she has a lot of respect for him, which is why she keeps reminding him that she's a fan, not a stalker. This is because it's true. Well, maybe both are true, but definitely the fan part. Pretty true, very true. So because of that, and get ready for this, simps, she says, "That was the moment I made up my mind to save him." Aww. When she said that she was a fan, she didn't mean Chainsaw Man, she meant Dennis Senpai. And I love right here that the art of Denji using only body language to convey that he's just heard something which will ultimately take a lot of time to digest. Fumiko bared her heart to him, and god damn it, it was actually really touching. This is just another example of Fujimoto being able to have his candy with the pork and beans. He can be absolutely juvenile, yet also still deliver in regards to his writing. Absolutely some immaculate stuff that was really touching. We also saw a tender moment, but as it goes to escalate as Denji looks up, ready to almost say something, Barum interjects, cutting him off. Just reminding you that, hey, this is a manga, y'all. Manga gonna manga here. And I sense the next time we'll see Denji finally tell Fumiko his thoughts, it may be their last interaction. Ripperoni, Fumiko. I'm prematurely making this segment of a video a memoriam for you. I'm gonna look like a hella idiot if this doesn't play out right. Also, note for me personally, I hate Barum now. Barum talks while Fumiko makes the same face I did when first reading this, well, at least when Barum interjected, about how much he gets paid from commission, and this is pretty much worth it because it was quite difficult making it here without getting spotted, so he's paid well for doing a really hard job, basically. Denji being peed off, channeling his inner Bento at this moment, lights his cigarette and certifies my hatred for him when he holds up a chainsaw-branded freaking Bic lighter. Then he asks him to listen to his fan request of him personally wanting to see Chainsaw Man fight, getting covered in gore, suffering, struggling, and getting killed, only to return to life, get back up, and do it all over again. Okay, so this is subtly, I think, Fujimoto having Fumiko and Barum represent different parts of the Chainsaw Man fandom. Fumiko represents people like me. He would probably love to see the inner struggle, but God, why did I write it like that? You know what I mean? Fumiko doesn't actually really represent me. You get the point, okay? Starting over. Fumiko represents people like me who love to see the inner struggle of people and not just take them at face value, but really getting down to the nitty-gritty of why Denji is the way he is. Really getting my money's worth for my attention span, pretty much. Then we have Barum, who is all about the surface level presentation. He's about the pomp and circumstance, the gore, the action. Barum's favorite manga, if he had to pick, would likely be like, I don't know, Bleach, or if it was like a webtoon, Tower of God. He doesn't care much about talking, and if he wasn't a Reddit and Twitter threads each week, he'd probably be calling Chainsaw Man mid and Fujimoto a washed-up writer. So hence why I hate Barum so goddamn much. To me, there is nothing that infuriates me more than when people say Chainsaw Man Part 2 is boring or mid just because they don't get action every other page. If you like it for other reasons, fine. I just think this particular reason is really frustrating because not every single manga has to be just fights, power scaling, and gore and titillation. Chainsaw Man Part 2 is a very character-driven piece of writing. It's complex, and that's because, by necessity, the story needs to develop these characters so that when we get to those final scenes, they all mean so much more. Remember, why is Goku becoming a Super Saiyan so legendary something we all remember? Well, to answer that is because we have previous seasons and whole series and arcs and sagas dedicated to his character development, which we saw hand in hand with characters like Krillin, who when killed, triggered his rage to transform. Another example, why was Naruto's fight with Pain so freaking memorable? Well, it's because we spent hundreds of episodes and chapters learning about Naruto and his friends and seeing him develop and grow as a fighter and as a person. So no, Chainsaw Man is not mid or bad because it just doesn't have tons of action and gore. These complaints I see leveled against the manga seem so short-sighted when in reality, we're really reading a series that doesn't even release weekly anyways. Overall, the pacing is fine, the story is good, In my opinion, people should just have a little patience, which I know is difficult. I do understand that, especially these days, but I do promise, take a month or two off Chainsaw Man and come back to it later. It'll be here for you when you get back, and you won't need to complain. So Barum then reveals to Denji and Fumiko that in a matter of moments there will be a devil attack on the building's first floor. Of course, ending that statement with just a hunch, which, and I mean, this is just my theory and guess, but by now we know that's not a hunch, but Denji doesn't know this yet, though I do feel this will come back to bite Barum when the truth to Denji is revealed. He'll have this moment to probably call back upon to connect the dots of whatever he needs to do that will help him make up his mind. Once again, that's just me spitballing though. So because of his hunch, he feels that there will be a lot of people that are going to yell, "Save us, Chainsaw Man," which sounds way more sinister than it does helpful. Almost like he's planned it from the start and he's fully complicit. Which, I mean, the dude's name is Barum. Do I need to explain more? His name's Barum, come on. Big Breakfast Barum. Though I still have a little bit to say about this chapter. I know the video's a little bit longer than usual, mostly because in my server, my good friend Adorabur brought up something really fascinating, which you can also join my server in the pinned comment and description below. He wanted me to mention this in the video. Freud's Structure of the Human Psyche, brought to you by today's sponsor, Adorabur, and his webtoon, The Raven Black Court. Go read it now, totally all for free. It's a great webtoon. Go read it. Go read it. Basically, if you didn't study any Freud stuff in school, the way this scene is set up is exactly like Freud's Structure of the Human Psyche, which is illustrated with these two images. As you can see, Denji represents the ego, which in basic terms, this is basically just him. Barum is the super ego, which is the part of a person's mind that acts as a self-critical conscious, reflecting social standards learned from parents and teachers. Barum is playing to Denji's id/instincts to become Chainsaw Man. Fumiko is trying to appeal to Denji's morality by saying that he as Denji matters more than as Chainsaw Man. I could be looking in it too deep, but I'm pretty sure Fujimoto, having been the film connoisseur, is also a psychology nerd at times. Just my interpretation, Lamau. Also, Fujimoto has no right to give Fumiko that drip, making me act unwise seeing her not dress up as a schoolgirl. Don't think I was supposed to read that last part, but thank you once again for Adorabur sponsoring this. Once again, check out The Raven Black Court. Great webtoon. I read it myself. So what do you think about Denji, Fumiko, and Barum in this chapter, and how this whole chapter was presented in general? It had a lot of great writing, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on it below in the comments. Also, big thank you to you guys. Last Chainsaw Man video, it was insane. We had over 8,500 views, 81 new subs, and over 350 likes. So if you're new to the channel, I hope you enjoy your stay. Thank you for subscribing. Hope you enjoy the content. We're over here working on 3K subs, which we're 40 from reaching. So if you want Chainsaw Man content, hit that sub button. Other than that, financially back the channel by becoming a channel member. It's just $2 and add an extra way to support what we do here. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.